What is up, guys? Welcome to module 6.1. So this is going to be trade grading. It's super simple but super important. It's extremely important, guys. I can't emphasize how important journaling is. Journaling is the the distinction between becoming profitable and basically staying the same, because journaling basically is the catalyst for behavioral change, because without actually seeing your mistakes, your mind will lie to you a lot. Your mind will basically be like, I think I entered here and there, but when you actually put it on paper, because your mind tries to convince you from avoiding pain. When you actually put things precisely on paper at the end of each week, you're able to see exactly what your mind's been up to and exactly how to correct your mistakes, right? So this is going to be super simple, right? So we'll have green trades. So green is perfect process. It was your bias for both aligned. That's one. You entered the trade within the same session, so it was not overlapping between Asian and Asian and London. So I mean, like, you didn't see a setup like it was in London. That it was in Asia session, which is like 8:30, and it was still forming, and it only triggered it around London session, right? That's when that's not the same session trade. So it needs to be within London, only in London, formed in London, and you're basically executing in London. That's your session that you mark it as green, right? The bias is aligned the same session, and you correct entry. You correctly entered at the FIB, you correctly put your stop loss and at the 50% level, and you correctly TP'd. Now you can call it green if you just TP'd even just a few pips away from TP, that's fine. But not like 3/4 of the way, and all of that falls under yellow. So let's go under yellow. So you mark it as yellow. You mark your trade as yellow. When you saw the setup. The setup is valid, but you had an execution leak, right? What I mean by that is that you entered early. Maybe you entered at like the 40% FIB level. You were more hungry for that to be in that trade, so you basically costed your risk to reward. You move stop loss slightly above or below, right? That decreased the risk to reward. That's a yellow. That's a leak in the system, right? Because it comes from a different mindset. You're not trying to be focus oriented. You're trying to win, right? Or trying to not lose. And then you entered on the wrong FIB level, right? That's the execution leak. Your execution must be flawless, right? Only each flawless trade over time, you get the exact R, right? That the system produces. Other than that, you will basically be diluting the system, and you will be struggling even more to pass or make money and stuff like that, right? Yeah. The red ones, the red trades, you took a random trade, which is not part of the system, right? That's not the only condition. You entered randomly, right? It's very bad entry. Maybe like you just entered at like the 0% level, 20%, right? It's not a yellow trade. You know it's a red trade. You know you shouldn't have done that. You revenge traded. You knew there was one loss, but you still went and took another trade. You traded against the bias. You only entered on the H4. All of those are red. Those are non-negotiable reds, right? You don't put them in yellow. You mark them as red because those are mistakes. Then the blue trade is when you miss the trade, right? So on the blue trades, let's just say you woke up late, you were in a meeting, something, I don't know what it was, but you missed the trade. It was a valid setup. Whether win or lose, you still missed it, right? Very important. And then basically here you can see the dates. You have the dates, you have each of the sessions, the direction that you were aiming for, whether it was a win or loss, and then you grade it, right? And then the notes are super important. It basically says why did you grade it this way, and what were you thinking before that and after that. Basically your whole thought process on why it was this color there, right? And then as you track, like for like someone who's beginning, who's very impulsive, some days, even on one day, you probably have so many red trades. You'll have one green trade, and then you'll have like 5 red trades, and you like over like the week, for each day you probably have all of them, maybe like 25 red trades, I don't know, right? because you're just a very impulsive person. And by the end of the week, you can basically see your behavior on the journal, and you're like, okay, next for this week, I'm gonna try and aim for only 10 mistakes. Right? You don't try to correct everything, but you look at what's the biggest bottleneck, the biggest issue, and then you correct that, and the next week you correct the smaller mistakes. For someone who's very timid, who plays it safe, right? For them, like for me, I was a very impulsive person. I had a lot of reds. For this person, you'll be seeing it's a lot of blue, right? They'll be missing a lot of valid trades because they're scared to enter. They're waiting to be right, or they might be yellow. So yeah, but basically that's how you'll be grading your trades, guys. And take screenshots of each of the trade, put it in a, if you can, it's also very important. It just kind of reminds you of, it gives you a feel of when you shouldn't be entering. So there's gonna be some times where you're just gonna know, right? But as long as the criteria is there, you follow the criteria for now, and then at a later stage, maybe months down the line, years, you will have an intuition also of what's valid and with. But you needed a lot of data first. So for now, just follow this journal, and then I wish you all the best.